Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We've got a full day today, and as people are starting to log on, we wanted to start with an homage to a member of the Disability Without Poverty family who we lost just recently. Our good friend Claire Lee helped inspire the DWP Research Collective. And in this video presentation, we follow Claire's journey over the years with DWP, which is also touchstones of the journey of the Canada Disability Benefit. Please enjoy this video in honor of Claire.
I came here to Ottawa to lend my voice in hopes to ask for support for Bill C-22. And yesterday, at the vote, was one of the most incredibly exciting things to witness. We are one step closer today as a person with disabilities and living with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. I know firsthand how difficult it is to manage my day-to-day living and also finances. I don't know what it's like to not live with a disability, but what I do know is that the desire for everyone is one and the same. I want to live well. I want to have experiences. And I want to pursue my goals and dreams. Today, there is 1.4 million Canadians with disabilities living in poverty, and that's 1.4 million reasons for me to fast-track this bill. All people deserve the chance to meet their basic needs, pursue their dreams, and participate fully in society. My name is Claire. Despite all my disabilities and cancer, I am actually fortunate to not experience living in poverty. But I know what it's like to not be able to meet my basic needs, even if I earn an income. I know what it's like to have to lean on others, both friends and strangers, to get by, and to make less than ideal choices for food and shelter in order to meet my paramedical requirements. This is my reality today, and tomorrow there are no guarantees. Circumstances can change for anyone and for me, and that's why I'm here today. 1.4 million reasons and growing. Why we need to ensure that the Canadian Disability Benefit is available as soon as possible, because we all deserve a chance to live well. I know that we are powerful, and together with support, we will enrich society. Thank you so much. Inflation is still a thing, poverty is still a thing, and not having enough money, not having enough financial security impacts mental health, it impacts the way that we live, and it impacts the right to live in a way that I think that everyone deserves to live, and that is with independence and freedom and joy. My city is Montreal right now. It has been for the last little while, but I was actually born and raised in Vancouver, BC, Steeston specifically, which is a little it's a place where I've always told people it's where your parents either were into fishing or they worked in the airlines. So my name is Claire Lee, and I am on the leadership team, and I try to volunteer any type of input or insight and perspective from the way that I'm living. I went to Montreal actually to try something different. I wanted to
I was told always that Vancouver is a beautiful city, which it absolutely is, and I always thought that it was one of the best cities in the world. But if you've never left that city, how do you know it's the best? So I packed up one day and moved to Quebec City and started going to University of Laval. I learned a new language, which is French, and then I moved to Chicoutimi. And then I moved to Montreal to finish off my undergrad education at Concordia University. So Disability Without Poverty is this great organization that I got involved with, mostly because I heard about it from Luca Lazy Legs Pitwali, who is someone that I used to work with, and helping him organize ill abilities. And we were speaking, I think it was sometime during the pandemic, and he said, I'm involved with this great organization of people with disabilities that are looking to bring about rallying support for the Canadian Disability Benefit. And I said, oh, that sounds like a great thing. And just to backtrack a little bit of a conversation, it was something that I wanted to be involved with because it's something that I strongly believe in order to provide a bit more assistance and, I don't know how you'd say it, like a cushion for people with disabilities in order to watch them flourish. So it seemed very much in line with what I thought would be interesting. And so when I met with everybody, what I noticed was that everybody had all these amazing different backgrounds and stories, and they all came together to support the similar cause, what we all believe in, which is that people with disabilities have the ability to participate in society fully and to bring about whatever uniqueness that they have. And really, realistically, I find it's just about enriching society. So I have multiple invisible disabilities, all centering around autoimmune conditions. Psoriatic arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis is two of them. I'm also currently a stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. I don't even know what you'd say, like person. But I'm currently going through treatment, and one of the goals of metastatic breast cancer research is to prolong your life. So if you think about moving cancer away from dying and living, then all of a sudden you have a chronic illness rather than a disease that can potentially kill you. So when you look at it from that standpoint and you think about what are barriers in life, if we talk about a person with a disability, it's just that they have to overcome certain barriers. And if that's the case, this makes the most amount of sense to try to get a Canadian disability benefit to support. And if I can do amazing things right now with financial support, then think about all the people out there that may not be able to work but are looking for that same type of financial support. And I think that it's important to take that stress away and help them flourish. As I mentioned before, it's really important to take away these types of stresses and build a different way of looking at life. We want Bill C-22 to pass. We wanted it fast-tracked, and we want to be able to get money in the hands of Canadians with disabilities, particularly those that are living in poverty, and to help lift them up. It's super important because I think that having the financial means is going to give you that baseline of being able to meet your basic needs, and I think that this is going to be the thing that does it. It has to be a supplementary income, and it can't be a replacement income of what they already have today. To me, it is about the money, because I think that financially speaking, I don't know what the exact terms of this, the amounts and whatnot, but what's important to me is that whatever it is, it's going to give them a little bit of an extra. So the whole idea behind Bill C-22 for me is giving somebody the opportunity to bring about themselves in a better and different way. I think that every single person in our society has something to offer the world. Every single person. Whatever your goals and dreams are, being able to put aside some of these things that you're thinking about, whether it be about the medication, whether it's about a different type of less reactive treatment, allowing you to flourish in a different manner. So whatever your goals and dreams are, it's going to affect society as a whole. And I think that one of the things that's missing in society today is for people with disabilities to have better representation. And I don't mean representation as, here's this one person that has a disability, but it's about what they're saying and what they're doing. And from what I understood about Bill C-22 is really, for me, it is about the money. It is about putting that money into the hands directly and allowing them to have a different look at life. You definitely won't think that it should be happening right now, especially since we just lived through the pandemic. I mean, in my mind, it isn't fully over yet, but we reacted so quickly for people across Canada, and we put CERB into place so quickly. And even at that, from what I understood, I never participated in CERB. I was working full-time at the time, and I was fortunate to have a job. But we gave access to $2,000 a month, and that's huge. When at that time, when CERB was going on, I actually had no idea what people with disabilities what that disability amounts were. But once I started working with Disability Without Poverty, I started seeing across the provinces like what we're actually talking about in terms of dollar figures, and knowing, even for myself, knowing exactly what it takes for me to do my day-to-day living. I can't imagine what it'd be like to have that amount. So it's 2022. We've gone through 2 years of the pandemic, and my question is, how is it possible that this is still not a thing? And even for me, we see inflation happening, and you see all the prices of food and my rent's going up and all that, and I find it incredible that we don't have something in place, that we don't even account for inflation, and what are we expecting people to do? It's the first time I've ever participated in anything like this, so that was new. I was nervous because I was also presenting one of the MPs. But what was kind of incredible for me is to see all of these people come together and having them just voice that this is important to them, that it's not just about telling more stories, it's not about, telling these things. It's just that they already recognize there's more and more people with disabilities, and I don't think that there's necessarily more people with disabilities, but it's changing our society in the sense of like being disabled is not a dirty word, if you will. So more and more people are more comfortable to recognize that, and the recognition of having a disability shouldn't in the first place, but it's being more and more acceptable to say it and be okay about it and still know that you're going to participate in society. So I think more and more people are self-identifying, self-recognizing, I have a barrier, but I can still be successful. I have a barrier and I can still accomplish certain things. And everybody is coming together and saying, if this is actually accurate, this is actually happening. And I think these MPs probably all understand and know somebody with a disability. And this is the reason why we're all together on this. It's to recognize that we've come to a point in time where it's not acceptable to not adjust for equity, I guess. Is that sort of what I was thinking about? It's not okay to leave people behind. It's not okay to not provide that for everybody, to really bring everybody up to the same playing field, and I think that's what's most important. Well, I don't know a whole lot about politics, so this is my first time understanding. I've been reading a lot about it, and this is another great thing about working with Disability Without Poverty is there's so many knowledgeable people that have been guiding me along the way. So I think I'm going to go to West Block today to watch the vote, and if it means that we're fast tracking this, if it means that this could be passed quicker, my hopes is that it'll get the money into people's hands a lot faster as well too. So I am not an expert in politics and I do not know a whole lot about government and how bills get passed, but I'm certainly learning a lot about it. And to be here today with, especially with all the different members of Disability Without Poverty, is kind of interesting and super, super just exciting, I think. It's an exciting time to be here. So I am also excitedly nervous about the rally tomorrow. I will be speaking at it. It'll be the first time speaking at a rally. Have a speech going on. I'm excited to see the support. I think ultimately, it's really exciting to see people come out and supporting what they believe in. I spoke to the MPs last night and they said that they will be at the rally as well too. And I'm really hoping that after today's vote, it will definitely be a bigger celebration. And this is something that I think is important to make all Canadians aware of, that these are things that are happening in real time today and tomorrow. And so being able to participate in that, being able to speak up for others. Rabia said yesterday, which I thought was really cool, is that one story can represent thousands of stories. So I'm looking forward to telling my story as part of one of the rally speeches, but ultimately I think it's just such a rewarding feeling to really come together with everybody and know that we all have the same common goals and get this going. When I first got diagnosed with cancer, I was like, oh my God. Now that there's like this huge possibility of I might not survive this. But I basically went through a moment where I said, I'm going to say yes to everything. I don't care what it is, I'm going to say yes to it.
That saying yes to everything, that is so brave, right? I mean, what a decision to take.
It was brave and scary, and there was a lot of times that I said yes with full out tears in my eyes. It's like, oh my God, why say yes? But I did. And it was honestly, it was a very cool way to grow.
Hello, and welcome to the Disability Without Poverty Virtual Research Symposium. We're excited to share this national gathering on disability poverty in Canada, learning from today to make tomorrow better. Please take a few moments to review the accessibility options we have for this event. We acknowledge that the Zoom platform isn't fully accessible to every disabled person. We do our very best to build in accommodation features that are available to us, like LSQ, ASL, CART captioning, and French language interpretation. The public chat has been disabled to accommodate presenters and people who use screen readers to prevent distractions. You will still be able to send chat messages to the hosts and co-hosts with your questions, comments, and if you are experiencing any technical difficulties and need help. If you have any concerns, please send an email to research@disabilitywithoutpoverty.ca. Please note that offensive language, aggressive behavior, and abuse of any kind will not be tolerated in the chat function. We expect everyone to use respectful language, and we welcome constructive criticism. Discriminatory, offensive, and abusive language will result in individuals being removed from the event. We greatly encourage you to share your questions, as we will be responding to as many as we can during our conversations today. Our first two sessions today on this stream feature simultaneous English and French interpretation, LSQ interpretation, ASL interpretation, and English and French captioning. Both streams will have simultaneous English and French interpretation, ASL interpretation, and English and French captioning throughout the day. First, please select your preferred language, English or French. You do this by selecting the interpretation option on your Zoom menu. Once you select this option, you will not need to change language settings again while you are in the meeting room. You must select a language even if the speakers are communicating in your preferred language. If you are on a mobile device, such as a phone or tablet, you can find the language interpretation options under More. For those who require LSQ or ASL interpretation, we will be pinning the interpreter's video throughout the event today. Please send us a chat message if you are having any issues with the viewing. To enable English captions, select the Captions option on your Zoom menu. If you would like to adjust the size and placement of those captions, you will need to go into your Zoom accessibility settings. For those of you who would like to access French captions for the event today, please click on the link that has been put into the webinar chat box to access these online in a separate browser, as we are not able to embed both caption languages into Zoom. If we can support you throughout this event, please send us a message in the chat box and someone will assist you. For any additional settings, please go to your personal Zoom account settings or your in-meeting audio settings for more customization. So, to summarize our accessibility options, please select your language using the interpretation option, enable English captions if required, or click on the link to access the French captions separately. And finally, make sure to share your questions in the chat box.
Danse, welcome. Good morning, friends. Today we are gathered for the very first Disability Without Poverty Symposium, learning from today to make tomorrow better. We also want to acknowledge this is our third annual Disability Without Poverty report card as well. So we welcome all members, allies, supporters, professionals of service providers, researchers, and community members who are gathered on virtual today. It is my honor to give my opening welcoming to you all. I ask of you that today is, as we know, December 3rd. It is the International Disability Day. The United Nations had announced that the theme is Fostering Disability Inclusive Society for Advancing Social Progress. Furthermore to saying to that, let's be sure that today we keep our hearts open, our mind open, and that we listen, and that we will walk away with a wealth of information. I am very grateful and thankful for the staff of Disability Without Poverty for making this event possible for us to be on Zoom virtually. So I wish you all the best, and I know that we can make a difference in this community by helping, sharing, learning, understanding, empathizing with one another, and showing compassion as activists. All for now. Hi, all my relations.
Welcome to Disability Without Poverty's first research symposium and the launch of our third annual report card on disability poverty in Canada. We hope this will be the first of many research symposium over the years to come, and we hope that you will join us live or by looking through our archives. We commit to making this as accessible to as many people as possible by the accessibility features in these videos and by making it virtual and free. My name is Michelle Hewitt, and it is my honour to be Chair of the Board of Disability Without Poverty. I welcome you on the United Nations International Day for Persons with Disabilities, IDPD, December the 3rd each year. The theme for this year, 2025, is Fostering Disability Inclusive Societies for Advancing Social Progress. For us, investing in research and bringing people together to share their research leads to those advances in social progress we so desperately need. I was recently reminded of a quote by Lester B. Pearson from 1957 when he won the Nobel Peace Prize. He said, "How can there be peace without people understanding each other? And how can this be if they do not know each other?" Disabled people need peace in their lives, and for disabled people living in poverty, they continually live in crisis. We have to confront this crisis and find ways that our wider society knows and understands disabled people, particularly the most vulnerable members of our community, those living in poverty. At Disability Without Poverty, I believe that we really concentrate on society knowing and understanding disabled people. Through our grassroots mobilisation, we listen to disabled people and help them advocate for themselves and others so that we really get to know the most vulnerable groups of disabled people and we understand how we can best help them. Understanding the situation that brings twice as many disabled people by population to live in poverty than non-disabled people is both simple and complex. Simply, we know that most severely disabled people can't work, and those that can work face many barriers. We know that disability rates are woefully inadequate. The complexity comes in finding the root causes and addressing them and making deep societal systemic change. For this to happen, we need research. At DWP, we began by researching the possibility of a Canada disability benefit when it was in its very earliest stages. We followed that by our Shape the CDB report, where we used community engaged research to reach out to the most vulnerable members of our community to hear what they needed the CDB to be. At the same time, we created an annual report card on disability poverty, and Rabia will follow by leading the launch of this year's report card. Now is the time to move beyond the work that we all do individually and to find ways to increase the understanding by linking together all people who are doing research into disability poverty in its many forms. My own research is about younger disabled adults who have no other option than to live in long-term care facilities where the average resident is 85 and has dementia. My research population makes up 7% of the population of our long-term care facilities and are often the only person in that age range in the facility. When I was defending my PhD, one of my supervisors was a gerontologist and had been researching long-term care for most of his career. He was just about to retire and said that it wasn't until he started to supervise my work that he even realized there were younger people in long-term care facilities. He's a wonderful man, and his comment is no reflection on his work. Instead, it's symptomatic of how invisible disabled people are, and the most vulnerable people in our society are particularly made invisible by their inability to be visible. At DWP, we believe in bringing us all into the light and bringing together the magnificent researchers from all over our country that are working on similar issues on disability poverty. When we put out our call for submissions, we realized that there was enough excellent work for a week-long conference. We had people that had already created panels and conversations, and then we had people who wanted to give lectures. We didn't want to lose any of this work, so we began to group people into similar areas: housing, policy failures, neoliberalism, and other areas, and asked them to pre-record lectures for you to watch in advance so we can get straight to the excellent discussions that we know are going to take place. Now, if you haven't watched the videos in advance, don't panic. Each panelist will give you a quick synopsis of their work at the start of each session. Also, poster presentations are a typical part of conferences. To make sure we capture this work that is not yet ready for a full lecture or a panel, but really important to share, we have videos that are 5 minutes or less. Please go check them out. Links will be given in the chat throughout the presentations. If you can hear a noise behind me, that's my service dog, Leo, chomping on a treat. It's not very quiet, I'm very sorry. But that's our life as disabled people. As we talk about building Canada as a nation in times that are quite unlike any other, we must make sure that disabled people are part of building Canada and that the Canada that is built includes them. Research is so vital to this. It tells stories in words, pictures, and data. Margaret Price, a disability scholar, says that disability studies research is messy, and it's easy to see why. We are not a homogenous group of people. We differ as much as any group of people, and we need research that highlights our similar needs while preserving our differences. And with that, I hand over to Rabia Khedr, the National Director of DWP, to tell you more stories and to introduce you to our report card. Please enjoy our research symposium.
I'm Rabia Khedr, the National Director of Disability Without Poverty, talking to you today from the traditional territories, most recently of the Mississaugas of the New Credit, or Mississauga, Ontario. Eternally grateful to the ancestors, to the original inhabitants of all these lands across Turtle Island that are gathering in this virtual space today, seeking disability justice. We are committed to truth, reconciliation, and the rights of people with disabilities here and everywhere. Today's symposium is a huge milestone. It is bringing together knowledge from lived experience and expertise. And we're really excited today, not only about the symposium, but the fact that this movement has brought forward the Canada Disability Benefit in 2025. We are launching our report card today. And before I talk about the report card, I would like to just introduce Disability Without Poverty a bit more. Well, when the government made the promise of a Canada Disability Benefit in the fall of 2020, people came together who had been doing work in this space across the country in pockets and said, hey, we need to do more. We need to build our capacity, we need to learn, and we need to build a movement if the system is to get the Canada Disability Benefit right, truly to lift disabled people out of poverty. So Disability Without Poverty as an organization was born in 2021. We had conversations through webinars and in-person and letter writing campaigns, postcard campaigns, lunch and learns, meetings with politicians, presentation of our research, op-eds in newspapers, and many, many media stories on radio and television. We rallied, we gathered, we spoke up about what disabled people need to see in the Canada Disability Benefit. And we began our original research piece around modeling data. Fast forward, we started to then ask questions, ran a survey, a questionnaire, in order to consult people who are often not consulted to give us their input, and produced our Shape the CDB report, or Disability with Possibility research report, that then we also shared with decision makers. We continued that journey that has brought us to this point. So we have the law, we have the regulations, we have the benefit, but it's just not enough. We gave input, we pushed for legislation. At the end of 2023, our first report card was launched with a grade to government of an I for incomplete, because we had the legislation, but we did not have the regulations or the budget or anything in place to move forward. In 2024,
A year ago, we gave the government an F because they failed on delivering the benefit to people with disabilities. Here we are today. Today, some people have started to receive maybe up to $200 a month. Many are still struggling in poverty. Very few are even hitting the poverty line with a top-up benefit. We are giving the grade of a D to government today because the Canada Disability Benefit is there, it's available, but who's eligible for it? Who has access to it? Is it an adequate amount? There are many, many gaps in the benefit honoring the original promise of lifting disabled people out of poverty. So a D is what we are presenting in our report card today and are offering to continue working with the system to bring forward the voices of disabled people to ensure that the improvements necessary to the accessibility of the benefit are there in place. We can start with cutting red tape, automatic enrollment into the benefit for people who have already jumped through all kinds of hoops through the disability tax credit barrier. So people have already jumped through all kinds of hoops to qualify for provincial benefits and other disability related specific programs where they have proven their disability through attestations and medical documentation. Well, why do we have to put them through that again? For so many, many reasons, we are creating unnecessary barriers. There's lots of room for improvement, and we know that if we work together with our government, we can make those improvements happen. Every one of us out there, riding by riding, putting our lived experience forward, telling our stories, no matter how tired we are doing this over and over again, we need to continue doing this so that our views and voices are heard and reflected in good social policy in this country. We know that when times are tough, able-bodied Canadians in positions of power get tougher on disabled people and the programs and services that support them. We cannot be ignored if we voice our needs. There is so much more data to explore and learn from. There is so much more information that we have incorporated in terms of lived experience in this report card, hearing from disabled people through our online survey, through conversations, etc. Explore the report card further, learn more, learn from today's symposium, and let's continue doing this work together to bring the promise of lifting disabled people out of poverty to reality. Because housing costs are on the rise and continue to be a barrier to accessible and affordable housing. Because employment opportunities are often not available or accessible to people with disabilities depending on the extent of their disabilities. Because there are barriers to transportation. Because there's a lack of good food. There are so many factors contributing to the experience of poverty for disabled people that need to be addressed and that need to contribute to robust social policy that results in a stronger Canada Disability Benefit that lifts disabled people out of poverty. We're going to learn a lot more today, explore a lot more today, and we are going to continue doing this work into 2026 through research, monitoring, and building community capacity. Stay tuned to what grade we will give government in December 2026. And Join us in this journey toward making life better for all of us. Together, we definitely can. And we know that gathering here may not be the best way for us to learn and grow, but for many of us, this is what is accessible through our home, through our desk, through our office, through our laptop, tablet, phone. This is the best way for us to come together and learn and experience. It may not be accessible to everyone, but we are doing our best to make it accessible for as many as possible. We are in it together. Nothing about us without us.
Hello, I'm Layla Sarangi. I'm with Campaign 2000 and Family Service Toronto. I'm one of the co-authors of the 3rd Annual Disability Poverty Report Card, and I'm here to share some of our findings with you. There was not a lot of good news in the data this year, but we did see, looking at both poverty measures, the low-income measure and the market basket measure, there was a slight decrease in 2023 of poverty rates for people with disabilities. The line here at the top, the blue line, is showing the poverty rate between 2013 and 2023 for people with disabilities. We can see in 2023, about 45,000 people with disabilities were lifted out of poverty, but that still left 16%, or 1 in 6 people with disabilities. That's 1.5 million people with disabilities living in poverty. Their poverty rate is about twice as high than for people who do not have disabilities. And you can see this comparison on the graph. The line at the bottom, the orange line, is the rate of poverty for people without disabilities, which is about 9.5% in comparison. Now, the Canada Disability Benefit is targeted to people of working age. So that is those people who are between 18 and 64 years old. And we found, when we looked at the market basket measure, that 890,000 people of working age who have disabilities were living in poverty. This bar graph shows the rate nationally. So that's the line on the bar lines on the far left, and then across the provinces. Unfortunately, the data is not available. The market basket measure data is not available for people with disabilities living in the territories. But when we look at across the provinces, we can see some of the highest rates of poverty for people of working age in Nova Scotia and in Saskatchewan, and some of the lowest rates of people of working age with disabilities in Alberta and in New Brunswick. And this data was shared with us by Maitri, our colleagues over at Maitri. More than 1/3 of people with disabilities who are living alone, who are not in an economic family, live in poverty. And that is much higher than those who do live in an economic family. So an economic family is a group of 2 or more people who are related by blood, marriage, common law, adoption, or a foster relationship, and who live in the same residence. A person who is not in an economic family may be living alone, or they may be living with other individuals who are not related to them. So that group of people who are living alone or with people who are not related to them tend to have much higher rates of poverty. More than 1/3 of them, their poverty rate is at 35%. And you can see that compared in the line graph here. The green line at the top are those who are not living in an economic family, compared to the orange line at the bottom. About 10% of those with disabilities living in an economic family live in poverty. When we looked at the gender breakdown, we did see a closing of the gender gap in terms of poverty rates. Both men and women with disabilities, their poverty rate in 2023 was at 16%. But when we looked at the absolute numbers that represents, more women with poverty, more women with disabilities lived in poverty. This number represents 826,000 women with disabilities living in poverty compared to 650,000 men with disabilities living in poverty. Both are very significant. This really speaks to ongoing entrenched gender norms in our society, including the gender wage gap and the unpaid labor and unequal care that falls on the shoulders of women. Now, the depth of poverty is another indicator that we look at that is very important to look at. We have been advocating for the federal government to be using this indicator as a measure of poverty reduction initiatives. It tells us how far away from the poverty line household or individual incomes are falling. This is called the low income gap ratio, and it's expressed as a percentage. So on average, in 2023, people with disabilities, their incomes were falling 30% below the low income measure. They needed an additional 30% of income to bring their incomes up just to the low income measure. This poverty gap, this gap has been steadily growing since 2020. This is a real concern. The deeper people fall into poverty, that means they have less money on an annual basis to meet, or monthly, daily basis to meet their basic needs, and it is much harder to get out of poverty. This really speaks to the structural nature of poverty and the widening inequality of poverty. As we see in poverty data, as poverty deepens for people who are living in poverty, wealth is also concentrating at the top. Part of the story that we look at too is labor market participation. And we found that barriers to the labor market for people with disabilities remain entrenched. The unemployment rate is stubbornly high for people with disabilities. It's 8.3% unemployment rate for people with disabilities compared to 5.7% for people who do not have disabilities. And when employed, people with disabilities earn less hourly wages than those who do not have disabilities. They earn on average $2.15 less than people with disabilities. So again, that wage gap is driving, and barriers to employment are driving poverty rates. We also looked at social assistance rates, which is the fallback program for people who are not employed or very precariously employed to the labor market. And across the provinces and territories, there is no program that lifts people up out of poverty. Even modeling done by Maitre, adding the maximum $200 amount of the Canada Disability Benefit to social assistance programs is not adequate enough to lift people out of poverty. And so the report card makes a number of recommendations, including to cut the red tape by removing bureaucratic barriers, building accessibility by expanding eligibility and ensuring access to information in accessible ways, guaranteeing adequacy by increasing the benefit amount to bring incomes up to at least the low income measure, and upholding accountability through annual regular public reporting on the outcomes and the impact of the CDB. So we hope that you'll be able to use this research and take a look at the report card, and we hope that this is useful for you in your work and your advocacy as well. Thank you.
Bonjour, hello everyone. I'm Chantal Petitclerc, senator, a proud Paralympian, a person living with a disability and an ally of disability without poverty. Merci du fond du cœur de me donner cette belle opportunité de vous parler.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart to give you this opportunity to talk to you.
Very important conversation. Since the historical passage of the Canada Disability Benefit, Canada has taken a meaningful step forward. For the very first time, our laws clearly recognize that people with disability deserve targeted support to move out of poverty, not just to survive, but to thrive. And this is big, but as we all know, passing a law is only the beginning. The true test will be in implementation, in adequacy, accessibility, and simplicity. The benefit must be strong enough to make a real difference in people's lives and easy enough to access so that no one is left behind. That is why working together, collaboration between government and community is crucial. Rien sur nous sans nous. Nothing about us without us. Researchers, policymakers, advocates, and people with lived experience must work together to shape the future of Canada. As a senator and as someone who has lived the reality of barriers and exclusion and obstacles, I am deeply committed to this work. Je m'engage de tout cœur à continuer de me battre pour une prestation qui respecte trois principes fondamentaux. We must always respect those three principles of accessibility, adequacy, and dignity. On this journey, Disability Without Poverty has been a very powerful voice grounded in lived experience, evidence, and hope. Votre leadership, il est essentiel.
Your leadership is
And as
crucial.
we're about to mark the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, let's remember, a Canada without disability poverty should not be just a dream. It has to be a choice. And together, we can make that choice a reality. Alors à tous, à toutes, merci,
everyone,
thank you, et bon symposium.
Have a nice symposium.
Thank you so much to Disability Without Poverty for the invitation to say a few words at this first ever research symposium. It's so important that we have an opportunity to gather and hear from people that are on the front lines of trying to make life better for persons with disabilities in this country. And your advocacy has been effective. Thank you very much for the work that you've done to help Canada launch its first ever Canada Disability Benefit. And we've taken your advice about how to make the benefit easier to access and fairer across the country. We have more work to do, though. I have heard from so many partners across the country about the work that we need to do, not just on issues of poverty, but issues of inclusion and accessibility. And I'm proud to do that work beside you. And I'm looking forward to the next steps together.
Thank you, everyone, for participating in this symposium today. The rest of the day will be live conversations. The report card is currently on the Disability Without Poverty website. That's at disabilitywithoutpoverty.ca. I'm just going to give you a feel for the way the day is going to run. Panels will be about 40 minutes, and we're going to have a 10-minute bio break in between so people can get some water and stretch their legs. Please check out the videos that we have up on YouTube. We have lectures, we have 5-minute poster presentations, if you heard what Michelle had said. And we're just really excited to have you all here. Our first panel will begin sharply at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The sun is just starting to rise here on the West Coast, so we're just getting going. And we will see you all back in just about 5 minutes for our first very exciting panel of the day. Thank you so much.